Welcome to Does It Matter by Brainy Ballers, where we dissect the game with cutting-edge analytics to give you the upper hand. We analyze everything from hand sizes to average depth of targets to uncover hidden trends that no one else sees. Say goodbye to guesswork and hello to data-driven domination. Because here at Brainy Ballers, we don't just watch the game, we understand it. So get ready, it's podcast time.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a really interesting one, something you hear debated all the time. Can a quarterback's college passer rating actually predict, how well they'll do in the NFL? This deep dive is basically your shortcut to understanding a pretty critical piece of that pro player puzzle.
Yeah, and we really went deep on this. We did a pretty comprehensive analysis, looked at career college passer ratings, specifically for the top fantasy football guys, finisher since 2003. But we made sure to exclude those rookie seasons. They're just too unpredictable sometimes. Our goal really was to figure out if that great performance in college actually means something long-term in the pros.
Okay, so you've got all this data. As you started digging in, what were the first, hints you saw? Was there a connection?
Well, the first thing that jumped out, honestly, was our averages chart. It showed this really consistent pattern. Get this, in 17 out of 21 seasons, that's 80.9% of the time, the top 5 fantasy QBs had the same or actually higher college passer ratings than the guys way down in the 21st and 30th range. So that was a pretty strong first signal.
Wow, over 80% consistency. That's definitely something. But did you find a more specific number, a real threshold maybe?
Exactly. That was the next step. We did more analysis, tested different ranges, and we zeroed in on a key threshold. It seems to be quarterbacks with a career college passer rating of 140 and above. This wasn't just slightly better. This range consistently produced the top NFL performers. We saw a 38.1% higher appearance rate in the top 5 fantasy group compared to the bottom 5 for these 140 plus guys. So yeah, think of 140 as kind of the benchmark for efficiency translating.
Okay, let's break that down a bit for you listening. What does that rating actually measure? Why does that specific level of college performance seem to translate so well?
All right, good question. A high college passer rating, it isn't just about, throwing a lot of touchdowns. It's a formula. It captures overall efficiency. It looks at completion percentage, how many yards per throw, touchdowns, sure, but also, crucially, interceptions. How well do they avoid mistakes? So, a QB hitting 140 or more consistently in college, they're showing accuracy, good decision-making, efficient play. They limit turnovers. And those fundamental skills, that's exactly what you need for the step up to the NFL and what leads to steady fantasy points.
Okay, that makes sense. So you have this consistent finding, this 140-plus threshold tied to core skills. How strong is this link, statistically speaking? How much weight should you, our listener, put on this?
Yeah, let's talk stats. We calculated the Pearson correlation coefficient.
Do you want to start dominating your drafts? At BrainyBallers.com, we've researched every metric under the sun for you to find which ones are best linked to fantasy points. You can access hundreds of metrics to sharpen your scouting ability so you know which metrics matter and which are just noise. Stop guessing on which thresholds to look for within each metric. Big numbers can be misleading or irrelevant. Our Ultimate Athlete Blueprints reveal essential scouting metrics, their importance, and benchmarks within each metric that help predict a player's probability of being a success or bust. Elevate your scouting ability with Brainy Ballers Ultimate Athlete Blueprints today. Click the link in the description. Now back to the show.
We found a value of 0.276. Now for context, Pearson measures how things move together. A positive value means as one goes up, the other tends to go up too. And generally in this kind of analysis, anything over 0.1 is seen as a meaningful correlation. So 0.276 is pretty solid. It shows a clear link. College passer rating goes up, NFL fantasy production tends to go up.
0.276. Okay. And how does that compare to, say, draft position? Because everyone talks about draft capital.
That's where it gets really interesting. In a separate analysis, we looked at QB draft capital, so how high they were picked actually had an inverse correlation. It was negative 0.219. It suggests that just being drafted high isn't as reliable a predictor of fantasy success as having a strong college passer rating. Draft position might indicate perceived potential, sure, but the passer rating seems better tied to actual measurable pro performance, at least in fantasy terms.
So is this finding, this 140-plus thing, is it something new, or has this held up over the years?
Very important question. We checked that specifically. We looked across the decades within our data set, and this 140-plus optimal range, it's been remarkably consistent. It wasn't just a blip, not tied to some specific offensive trend or era. It's held true for over 20 years now, which really confirms its significance as a long-term indicator.
Okay, so the message for you listening seems pretty clear then. When you're looking at college QBs, maybe for your dynasty league or just evaluating prospects, you really want to target that 140 career passer rating or higher. The higher above 140, the better the odds, it seems. It points to those core skills.
Exactly. It's about applying the knowledge, right? What we found strongly suggests that quarterbacks who were fundamentally efficient and made good decisions in college, as measured by that higher passer rating, just have a significantly better chance of succeeding professionally.
Exactly. And it leaves us with a pretty interesting question to chew on, doesn't it? If one single college stat, like passer rating, can actually be this predictive, well, what other metrics might be out there, maybe overlooked right now, that hold hidden clues to a player's future NFL success, something we maybe aren't even tracking closely yet?